Welcome into the Royals Rundown podcast presented by Royals Review. I am Jacob Milham, joined once again by, this is the fan vote, everyone, the illustrious Jeremy Hokius Greco. Jeremy, my attempt at your other nickname did not land so well.
No, it didn't. I'm still like, I get a little grossed out when I think about it, and I'm still not sure why.
I think we all know why. We just don't want to say it on the podcast is all.
I have wherever your mind is, my mind is not there.
Well, I am not going to pontificate about my mind being in the gutter. We're here to talk about Kansas City Royals baseball. We have plenty to
Woo!
talk about today on Thursday on the off day. And I think the Royals definitely needed it after that Boston Red Sox series. We're going to be talking about the new pitchers, their first impression, and also Jonathan India getting pushed on the lineup. We'll see what they have to say about that. Jeremy, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say that was a rough series for sure. I think we all need not necessarily rough in terms of wins and losses, because I know I going into that series said if the Royals can just take one of these three games, I will be content, especially after taking 2 of 3 from the Blue Jays. If I had been able to podcast Thursday, that's exactly what I would have said. So in terms of like the wins and losses, it's a little frustrating to have that comeback blown apart on Monday
Yeah.
and then to have the close game blown apart on Tuesday, but winning 1 out of the 3, and then when you were looking at the pitching matchups, that was the one they were gonna get. And we'll talk more about pitching matchups as we enter the Twins series, I think, a little
Yeah.
bit, because I have some more thoughts about that. But yeah, it was just like it was a competitive, hard-fought series, I think, for both teams, and getting to take a break after that isn't gonna hurt anybody.
No, absolutely not. And the Royals are on this final leg of this lengthy road trip before they'll return back to Kauffman Stadium. Really, the first look that Royals fans will have in person at this new roster and some of these new additions.
The Queen.
What'd you say?
At the Queen.
At the Queen, yes, Queen. All right. So before you brought up the Monday loss, I don't want to dwell on that too much because I think we've all kind of emotionally processed what that game was. But it is important to know that there are still questions to be answered, and Matthew Lamar answered one such question on RoyalsReview.com today. Do the Royals really stink at base running? Straightforward title. No beating around the bush there. Make sure you go check out that article on RoyalsReview.com for the answer. And I bring that up because that was the rally killer on Monday. That was the big subject of debate. What did Nick Lofton do right, wrong, or what did Vance Wilson do right and wrong? But we're not gonna talk about that too much. I do want to talk about Wednesday's series finale because it is a Royals win. And that was I think that I don't want to say the consensus, because best case scenario, of course, was the Royals leaving Boston with a sweep over the hottest team in baseball. That would have been amazing. That would have been
Yeah,
ideal. But
yeah.
I think everyone agreed that you had to at least leave Boston with one win. You couldn't get swept, and that would just crater the optimism amongst the Royals fan base. And they got that win. It was a fun win.
In a lot of ways, crater their playoff chances.
Yeah, yeah. It's those still aren't looking great, but hey, they could be looking a lot worse.
There's not enough games for losing streaks right now.
No, absolutely not. And Jeremy, like you've said on the podcast before, good teams find ways to break up losing, if that makes sense. They don't just let it roll continuously downhill.
And the Royals have won, what was it, 12 straight series finales?
Yeah, it's a pretty good run.
They haven't lost 3 in a row in a minute.
No, they have not. So that gives me some comfort, but again, that's looking at the silver linings.
It's the exact opposite of what we were seeing last year and what we were concerned about early this year. If I'm remembering correctly, is the Royals, we were talking about the rubber matches. The Royals would win one game, lose one game, and then they'd be guaranteed to lose that last game. Now it doesn't matter how many of the first 2 they win, probably going to win that third one. They're like 27-12 on the season
Yeah.
in series closing games. So the odds are in their favor for those games.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna need that and more as the season continues.
Yes,
As
they
the
will.
season reaches its climax.
Yeah, it is. It's such a weird spot to be at, right? Because usually when you're watching a movie or reading a book, like the climax happens, and then there's a little bit of fall off. There's a little bit of to the conclusion, and you get there smoothly, it still feels like the Royals season is just ramping up and up and up and up, and we're running out of road here. Like the Royals can't just
We
keep
got to get
paving
this
new
bus up
road.
to 55 miles per hour so we can jump the ramp.
Yes, thank you, Keanu Reeves. Lovely speed reference there.
I'm glad you got me.
Yes,
It couldn't go below 55.
right.
I don't know how fast they got it to jump that gap. Yeah, this bus, the famous bus from our graphic, we got to jump this baby.
Yes,
gotta
we do.
it.
We gotta figure it out somehow. All right. So in that series finale, one of the big takeaways from that is the lineup changes.
Yeah.
Just so folks keep listening. Of course, we have to talk about Michael Walken, another great start from him. But Jonathan India, who he's always been in the leadoff spot this season. Okay, he's played in all but 10 games, and those 10 games he wasn't in the lineup. Period. Like those were just off days for him. And so he gets pushed down to seventh. Mike Yastrzemski, the newly acquired outfielder, gets pushed up to the leadoff spot. Frankly, I don't know how much better it could have worked out for the Royals. Like for the first impression of that experiment, I would call it. And Mike Yastrzemski, he does his part against Dustin May. I think he's like 7 for 14 off of May in his career now, which is just really cool. Of course, they saw each other a lot with the Giants and the Dodgers playing each other. And Jonathan India, his 3-run home run over the Green Monster really broke open the game and made this set much less of a nail biter. At that point, it still felt like the Red Sox one swing could change it, but that just put some much needed separation between the two teams. And it seems like all parties before and after were like, hey, this helps. I mean, Yastrzemski said, quote, "It was nice to get everyone shuffled up a little bit and feel a little rejuvenated and remotivated." So,
Yes, because he's been in this lineup for so long.
yeah. old man, yes.
He was in the lineup for 5 games before this, right?
Yes, that was it. That was it. But this is for all of the griping and moaning that we'll
He
see.
wasn't in the lineup against Crochet either.
No, he wasn't.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine because I wanted to point out that for all the griping and moaning that Royals fans will do about some of the matchup games that manager Matt Quatraro will play, this was one of the times where those matchup games really paid off because Yastrzemski is so good against those right-handed pitchers. And I don't know, I would like to see more of it, frankly.
Yeah, I think when something works that well, you do it again. Now, I think the last time we podcasted, I said you could bat Yaz against lefties and he would still be an improvement above what the Royals had been putting out in the outfield. That was incorrect. You
Oh,
can bat Grichuk against righties, but you absolutely cannot bat Yaz against levties.
okay.
So that was my bad. I did not look at the numbers sufficiently.
Nah.
So if you all were like, why did he pinch hit? Yaz is having such a great night. It's just a lefty reliever and you immediately pull him. What do you do? No, that was the correct move.
It was.
It was the 100% correct move. If Yaz bats against a lefty and there's any right-hander on the bench, it is the wrong decision.
I'm trying to pull up his splits right now because I remember it was pretty egregious, but I want to see
14 WRC plus against lefties or something.
Yeah, so against righties, 120 WRC plus, 20 points better than the average batter
since he joined the Royals because he's been hitting very well.
Correct. Against lefties this season, 10. The man basically turns into MJ Melendez plus Hunter Renfroe against left-handed pitching. All right, like that's just how it goes.
Yeah. So yeah, when Randall Grichuk pinch hit for not Carl.
No.
Woo. Mike Yastrzemski in Wednesday night's game, that's how those guys should be used. One of them should be starting in right field, at least until Caglione gets back, and then maybe we'll figure some stuff out when that happens. One of them should be starting in right field every night, depending on who the starting pitcher is. And then the other one will pinch hit if they try and play matchup games. What's been interesting to me, Jacob, is that teams, even when Yaz was batting in the bottom of the lineup, teams would wait to bring in the lefty until after they had faced Yaz. They would rather have Yaz versus the righty than Grichuk versus the lefty because they knew that's what was going to happen.
Gotcha.
And I think that's interesting. I don't know what, if anything, that means about Yaz or Grichuk. Because they're both very good against the opposite-handed hitters. And frankly, I would almost always rather see the pinch hitter because the guy who's been in the game, he's been in the game.
Mm-hmm.
His timing's going to be better, probably. I would assume. Pinch hitting is hard. That's what we always hear. I don't know. I never did it. I was not good enough in Little League to be a pinch hitter. If I was not in the lineup, I was not batting.
It was an off day for you.
So yeah, it's just it's interesting. So it's something I was watching, and then last night was the when he moved to the leadoff spot and they rebound. That's the other thing is it rebalanced the lineup a little because
Yeah.
with Yasir they would have 3 or 4 lefties at the bottom of the order and a whole bunch of righties at the top of the order because they moved Mikel up, and that leaves you people all off season because I was organizing my lineups as much as I could, left, right. All off season, people were like, "Does this really matter?" I don't think this really matters. It matters.
It does. It does.
It matters. It matters who they're gonna because of the 3 batter minimum rule. It matters a ton as far as what pitchers guys are gonna see.
Correct. And I do think that, you can go the splits, it matters on that level, right? But especially against a guy like Dustin May, who his arsenal is specifically suited for against righties. And it's so much like it just doesn't work against lefties as well as it does against righties. That's the simple math of it. But to what degree is what probably pushed Quatrero to put Yastrzemski at the top of the lineup. But also, like, this sounded like a good move for India. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say what I would like to see more of this, even against right-handers who can get lefties out.
Yeah.
And I would like to see, I really want to see, and I've been saying this for weeks, I would like to see Mikel Garcia leading off against lefties.
Probably
I've
so.
been saying I just want Mikel Garcia leading off, period. I guess the and I know I argued against it earlier this year when India was struggling and Mikel was surging because I was saying, well, he's driving in runs. All India's doing is getting on base. So you want the guy who's getting on base to bat higher so that he's on for the guy who's hitting with power to drive him in. But since the All-Star break, India's not been getting on base either. So I would like to see Mikel maybe leading off. I would like to see a little bit more aggression. I was particularly focused on India in the first 2 at-bats of the series
Uh-huh.
against the Red Sox. I was not able to watch the beginnings of the games, so I was watching game day, and I just watched fastball right down the middle, fastball right down the middle, fastball right down the middle. You're done.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're the leadoff guy, and I know we've complained in the past about leadoff guys not taking enough pitches, but if they're just going to throw you a fastball down the middle, little ambush is not out of order.
No, absolutely not. And this is Jonathan India's in a spot right now where it sounds like he is searching for himself a little bit, according to Annie Rogers, her newsletter coming
And,
out
and
today.
And credit to him for being open and
Yeah.
honest about his struggles, not just physically, but also mentally, because he's changed he's on a new team, he's trying new positions. The one thing that concerns me a little is he's like, oh, I can't find my fire. And I'm just like, I resist the urge to criticize that too strongly because it's hard to find the fire in your job, no matter how much you like your job, like 100% of the time. But also, I really appreciate the honesty of like, yeah, I'm not where I want to be mentally. Obviously, he struggled physically this year. He's been a ball magnet. He's been a cleat magnet all year. There's been some boneheaded plays on the bases, but that's been true of everybody, which is why it's wild to me that everyone's so extremely critical of Nick Lofton. Like, yeah, did he screw up? Yes. But he is far from the only person to screw up on the bases this year. This has been a team-wide thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I really hope they'll get that addressed. But yeah, back to India. Sorry, rabbit trails. India is just the honesty and the openness. I hope that moving down in the order takes some pressure off of him. I wouldn't hate if the Royals, Adam Frazier's been putting in, that's the one, Adam Frazier, Randall Grichuk, and Mike Yastrzemski, since they've been added to this roster, have all had terrific at bats almost every time up, which is not something we could say. Like, even when they're not getting hits, even when they're striking out, they're swinging at pitches they should swing at, watching pitches they should watch. Sometimes the guy's better than you, sometimes you guess wrong, whatever, but they're taking much better at bats. And I think I'm hoping that'll rub off on some other guys. But I don't hate Adam Frazier starting at second base in at least the short term and let India DH focus on the hitting. Let him focus on, let's get away from the criticism of the defense. Let's move him down to the order so that it's not as a big a deal if he watches a couple strikes and we're just like, what are you doing? Take some of that focus off of him. Let him find himself. And then maybe, in a mid-September or something, he's ready to move back into that leadoff spot and be the guy that the Royals thought that we all thought the Royals were getting.
Yeah. Precisely. And I want to circle back a little bit to that designated hitter point because that was something I was thinking about on the drive home. And I think like right now would be the time to do it because the designated hitter conversation for much of this season for the Royals has circled around Vinny Pasquantino and Salvador Perez. Well, the fact of the matter is right now that conversation was really more probable or needed with Freddie Fermin on the bench. No offense against Luke Maley. He's done good things in a Royals uniform, but I don't know if the Royals are going to be as apt to play Maley as they were for Mean. So
I
if
mean, they haven't been.
right,
He's played one game since the trade deadline.
correct. So if that designated hitter spot is going to be open so much as it is, put Adam. I can't just take me back to 2024 and tell that version of me that I'm saying this. Play Adam Frazier at second base.
You know what 2024 Adam Frazier didn't have? That powerful mustache.
That is true. You know what?
I don't know what your Bible knowledge is like, Jacob, but there was this guy in the Bible, Samson.
Yeah, his hair.
He cut his hair, he became weak. He was the strongest man in the world until he cut his hair. Adam Frazier needs a mustache to be strong.
Apparently so. It's not just the mustache; it's the whole flow. All right, he's got this mullet thing going on. He looks like a ball player in 2025. I will say that. And truthfully, just the I would want to say the aggressive approach at second base in the field, it pays off more for Frazier than it does for India. Like I know that's India's natural professional position, but he's just had a lot of ugly moments in the field this season, and it feels like in a Royals uniform, Adam Frazier has been more consistent.
One thing that I didn't realize was true until I heard it on the Kaufman Corner podcast when I was listening to it this morning is that Jonathan India looks like he's playing defense afraid.
Hmm.
He does not look like a guy who's playing defense like this. I'm a professional baseball player. I'm going to catch the ball. I'm going to throw the ball. Everything's going to be good. He looks like a guy who's afraid at any moment he's going to make a mistake and everyone's going to yell at him over it.
Yeah. Would you?
There was a ball last night that was hit to Adam Frazier that Frazier flubbed. It looked like it could possibly be a double play ball. He could definitely get a lead runner on it, and he booted it. But then he immediately pivoted, picked it back up through first, got the out at first. Very nice recovery. No one is perfect out there, but there was a recovery. Whereas I think Jonathan India, the way he's looked and played this year, this is not a criticism, this is just like what I've seen, is it looks to me, I would guess that Jonathan India would boot that ball and then he would be so busy berating himself for booting that ball that everybody's safe.
Right. And I know neither one of us have been professional athletes, but I don't think it's that big of a stretch to say, well, that, the struggles in the field mentally, they have to have an effect on his approach at the plate.
100%. I think there are some guys who can go in the field and they don't take their hitting struggles with them and vice versa. And there are other guys that absolutely do. And if I was a professional athlete, I would absolutely be one of the guys who does. So I would 100% get that. I think making him a designated hitter, at least 2 out of 3 games, maybe Salvi DHs or plays first every third game would be my preference. I think that could do him a world of good of like, okay, whether you do or not, because it's, the reality I don't think is as important as his perception of reality right now. You feel like you play second base so poorly and that everyone is ready to scream at you when you screw up there, that it's hurting you. It's hurting your focus both on the field and at the plate. So let's remove that from the equation as much as we can.
There you go. I like that idea.
I think that Jonathan India is probably a very competent second baseman. Not a very competent. He's a competent second baseman. Okay, I think the criticism of Jonathan India at second base is overblown by how bad he was, especially at third base. Though there were some promising returns, I think, early this season, both at third and in left field. But I think he looked so bad as a defender at positions he hadn't played in the major leagues before. And then he went back to second base with basically no ramp-up time without fielding any balls there and was like, yeah, just go back to second base. And he booted some balls early there. And I think if you could just start looking at Jonathan India's defense at second base from like a month after he went back to full-time second baseman, I think he'd be fine. He wouldn't be good, certainly wouldn't be great, but he'd be fine. And I think that a lot of what happened before that is just unfortunate circumstances is coloring people's opinions.
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate and honestly realistic view of it because I know I can be the same way. One other caveat that I do want to add to this that we probably haven't talked about enough is I do wonder how much of Jonathan India's workload at second base and in the leadoff spot even has been affected by Michael Massey's injury troubles this year because he was Massey coming into 2025 was still, even though they traded for India, Massey was still very much in the Royals plans, and whether that be trying him out in the outfield or just playing his natural spot at second base, he was still in the Royals fold. Well, now he's been out for so long that it's easy for fans to forget about him, and there's no sign of him coming back. So that's like a ripple effect that I wonder how it's affected India's workload in the lineup and in the field. But that's there's no need to pontificate about that.
I do think that there's been extra pressure placed on Jonathan India because Royals knew going into the season, going into the last offseason, that they needed better hitting. They needed more on base percentage, and they traded for Jonathan India, and he didn't get that second batter that we all said they needed, that the team said they needed. And that put a lot of pressure on him to be the savior of the offense. And then they said, also play two new positions that you've never played before. Also be the leadoff hitter. Also, like, just it was just so much they've piled on him. It's no wonder he's feeling a little mentally like not great.
Yeah, and all this in a new environment, especially, I think that is definitely a big factor. But all in all, I love the Wednesday's results from those two players specifically, and we just saw how two players like I don't want to say on their own, right? Because it was a full team win. There was a lot of good performances that game, but just those two factors can change drastically how a Royals game looks. And I it's worth reminding folks that ever since the Grichuk trade, the Royals lineup has not only been above average in WRC plus, but they've been a top 10 run scoring team. And that is exactly what we needed from the Royals ahead of the playoff push.
Ever since the Frazier trade, they've scored 7
Yeah.
or more runs in half of their games.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it?
And remember, there were some crazy people out there who was like, Adam Frazier, why
Yeah.
would you bring Adam Frazier back? That's stupid. Can you believe those people?
I
All
not
along, I knew, of course, that Adam Frazier was exactly what this team needed.
we were all Adam Frazier believers, weren't we? We're just gonna go back
on
and
this podcast, 100%.
for everyone unaware that we were being sarcastic because we were both very critical of that trade. And hey, this is one of those instances where we, it's like, okay, front office knows what they're doing. That's why they get paid the big bucks.
Jacob, I love this front office. Have I said that recently?
I think you have, but I think it deserves being said again.
JJ Piccolo has been such a huge, and he has been the whole time he's been here. I think I've said it the whole time he's been the GM, especially starting 2 off seasons ago when he said, we've identified these strengths and these weaknesses, and this is where we need to get better. And then he went out and did it. So credit to him, credit to the owner for empowering him to do that. No more, okay, the superstar agreed to a contract extension, get him to do it for $1 million less. No more, trade everybody away. No more trade extra prospects so that we don't have to pay the salary for the guys we add at the deadline. It's so credit to the owner for putting up, credit to JJ Piccolo for leading a staff of honest front office people who are open and honest about what the team is and don't treat us like idiots, and credit to the people under JJ Piccolo for doing the scouting, for doing the contract negotiations, for doing all the stuff that they're doing that's making the Royals a good team. And I can't remember if this is something Matthew Lamar talked to us about on our podcast, or if this is something we talked to him about offline, where he said that Royals, and I think this was Matthew Lamar, I might be misremembering who said this, but the Royals are a good team, that we were spoiled by how they've been for the last 30 years or whatever, where it was World Series or 100 losses. That the Royals are somewhere in between that, and that's not a place that they've been for most of the last 30 years, most of the fans' lifetimes. So this is a good team.
It is.
maybe good enough to get to the playoffs, maybe not, but it's still a good team.
Oh, sorry, I was about to sneeze, Jeremy. I just got to swallow that one. Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. And that was another thing that I was thinking about on the drive home today, because that's all I've known for my life. It's either the Royals are fourth or fifth in the division and are flirting with a 95 plus loss season, or they are pushing, like they are winning pennants and they're winning commissioners trophies. And I remember back when the Royals hired Quatrero and they put more power into Piccolo's pocket. And it was very much a hope that the Royals would build a constant winner or a consistent winner. And I think that maybe what us as fans need to remember is that doesn't mean a consistent contender. I think that like those are different things. I think they are.
If you win 82 games in a season, you're within 5 or 6 games of a playoff spot.
Right.
I think makes you a contender.
Okay, gotcha. I have a little bit when I think contender, I'm not thinking playoff contender. Like I'm thinking like
World Series.
yeah, I'm thinking like World Series contender.
Yeah, you can't be a World Series contender every year, but you can be a playoff contender every year.
Right. And like while there are some fan bases that have that World Series contender expectation every year for their team, I just don't think it's realistic to expect that of the Royals right now. That's all it is.
The only fan base that can expect that is the Dodgers.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying like they realize it, right? But it's like the Yankees or the Mets or the Red Sox even before this year. Like it doesn't come into reality, but before opening day, those are the expectations that the fan base has for the team. Does that make sense? And I think that as long as the Royals, I just want competitive baseball consistently, and that's what we've gotten over the past, since the beginning of 2024. I'm not gonna speak anything about 2023, but since the beginning of 2024, we have gotten consistently competitive Royals baseball, and it's been that way, especially since after the All-Star break.
I have to praise even the 2023 season to a degree, though, because that was a season that they said this is an evaluation season. And then, Jacob, they evaluated.
Yeah, they did.
They did actual evaluations. They played guys and they said, this guy is good enough. This guy is not. And they acted on those evaluations. I feel like Dayton Moore was always saying, we're evaluating. What were you evaluating? What were the conclusions you reached? I can't tell by the words you speak or the actions you take that you have done any kind of evaluation. So to have, again, an open and forthright GM and a front office and a coaching staff that are competent. No one's talking about firing the hitting coach anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Scoring 7 runs every other game, that they're averaging 5 runs a game since the break. This was one of the reasons I initially resisted, the idea of firing the hitting coach. I eventually gave in because I said, well, you got to do something. And that's the only button left to push. It was literally what I said. That's the last lever to pull, the last button to push, and you can't stop trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they didn't, and then things fixed themselves anyway, because maybe the problem never was the coaching.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe it was all
or
the dugout.
Maybe they're getting lucky. I don't know.
Either way, it's fun. It really is. And what I will say is, if you want to have a little bit more fun as a Royals fan, go check out the new look RoyalsReview.com. I know we're still getting through some of the growing pains. It is different. All right. At first we don't like different. Change. Yeah, we're not huge fans of change, but that's okay. I think there are some new features there for Royals fans to enjoy. And ultimately, my favorite part of this new redesign, it feels that I can get to the comment section faster. Because like whenever I load up a thread or rumblings, if I've already read the article, I just want to get to the comments. And I can get there just like that. So I highly suggest go and join the community over there.
I have to admit that I'm too old to understand the feed or why it's there or why it's good or what it's going to accomplish for anyone. So I have to admit that. But I also have to say that there are a lot fewer and a lot less intrusive ads on the site now.
Yes.
And like you said, the ability to get down to those comments and read the comments, because I do that a lot. I open an article, especially if I wrote an article, I want to go back and check the comments and engage in conversation with people. So the whole reason I'm here, instead of writing on my own personal blog or something.
Exactly.
No one can ever tell me I'm wrong. I want to have those conversations. But I loaded the site back up, especially on my phone, because I'm watching the game, and I'm like, "Oh, let me check on this." And it's like, I load the site up on my phone, I couldn't get anywhere. Couldn't
Yeah.
do anything. The ads just slowed it all down. And it is a much, much better experience for me right now.
Yes. And
Will
I
it stay
do.
that way? I don't know, but it is for now.
Yep, for now, I'm enjoying it, and I do wanna clarify that if you sign in with an account, you will get the best out of the site, right? I think if you're just a guest or if you don't have an account,
Are there more ads
I
then?
I believe so.
Accounts are free. Of course, you have to give away personal information like your email address, but just give them a fake one.
Yeah, yeah, just give us a fake one, maybe for the advice, you could slide us some Pop-Tarts. We'll be cool here. We'll be cool here, we'll all be like some clapping otters. I do wanna point this out about the feed, though, because it
Yes,
does.
please.
What did you say
Say
in this?
something nice about the feed, Jacob, because I
What
don't get it.
What'd you say in the Slack? It sounded like some sort of bad game show.
Yeah, like when I hear the feed, because it's always capitalized, the feed. I'm like, that's. I didn't say it was a bad game show. I said it was a game show,
Oh, gotcha.
probably a cheap game show. I
There we go.
What I specifically think of is the floor, which is a game show that I really enjoy and is not cheap.
Yeah.
But the feed, I'm just like, that's probably a game show where they show you a social media post and then ask you to tell them something about it.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't miss those sort of game shows. What I like about the feed is that I know a lot of the content on the feed is centered around, Twitter content and things like that. But you log into royalsreview.com and you get that without having to go on Twitter itself. And you know that you're going there and you're just talking about Royals, right? Like that's and we can all curate our social media feeds. We can all do this, that, or the other thing. But I know for sure that whenever I go to royalsreview.com, log into the feed, I'm going to see the latest on the Royals. I'm going to see, I always forget who is Royal Treatment. Who is Royal Treatment on the site? Do you remember?
I want to say that's Brian Henry.
I think it is, but I'm not sure. But like perfect example is like, hey, I saw this thing on a Fangraphs article. He didn't post about it on Twitter and share it there. He just took a screenshot, shared it on the feed, and started a conversation. So I
That's what
like
I
that.
don't get though, Jacob. And maybe you can explain this to me. Is why is it better to post it on the feed than on Twitter or Blue Sky?
So I would say Twitter or I would say it's better, especially on Twitter, because most of the sports world is still on Twitter right now, unfortunately. I say it's better because you have less intrusive spam. It's just royal centric there. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's the best thing since sliced bread, but I do like it.
I feel like, so the way it was explained to me is the feed is supposed to be like a social media thing for these fan bases. Just it's like our own personal social media space. But that means that your potential audience is tiny compared to what you can reach on social media.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
if I want to make a post about something and I want to have some engagement on it, I feel like I'll make that on social media where a much larger group of people have a chance of seeing what I said.
Hmm.
Is that, and if I post it on Royals Review, then only the people who are hanging out on the Royals Review homepage are going to see it.
Right. So
Do I
I'm
really need to have the Royals Review homepage open constantly to spam check the social media there as
of
well as
course
my Blue Sky account?
no, and especially not right now because it's still in its fledgling phase. But I do think that posts like what we saw yesterday from an account named Royal Blue Blood is a good example of what the feed can do. It is he started a conversation or they started a conversation. They asked a question. They got some responses, but like I might not have seen that question if it was on Twitter because I don't follow them on Twitter.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at this too much from the perspective of a writer. I have a platform.
Right.
If I have something where I really need to communicate it to someone, I write a post on Royals Review and I say, "Here, everybody read this. You all read Royals Review, you read my article now." And then because of that, I have a small but reasonable following on Blue Sky of like 300 people, which is, I mean, if I didn't have Royals Review, before I had Royals Review, I had a following of 10 people. So,
That's something.
and probably 5 of them were bots because that was still back in the Twitter days.
Bots. They're still
So,
around.
they are. So, I guess from the perspective of if I'm just a fan and I want to write something and have a discussion, maybe the feed makes more sense as a fan who doesn't already have even a small platform
Yeah.
to be like, here, I'm going to put this, and you could post it on Blue Sky or Twitter, but maybe no one's following you because people don't follow random Royals fans, but they do check the Royals review page. So it
Mm-hmm.
kind of platforms you a little
Yes.
bit. I guess that does sound pretty cool. It's kind of like fan posts, but easier to access
Yeah. Yeah. So
and easier to
still
see.
definitely easier to see. So I know we talked about that for about 10 minutes, but go
But
check
it's
it out.
important, and I know I came at it very negatively in the Slack, so to have like the opportunity to change my mind on it.
We all do. But highly suggest you go check it out, make your own decision, and you can let us know, drop us a line what you think about it. So before we get too deep, I do want to kind of let Royals fans know where we're at in regards to playoff odds, especially because that's something that we've been bringing up consistently. And unfortunately, the reality is things just really have not changed for the Royals. According to Fangraphs, right now they have an 8.9% chance at the postseason. That is super, super long shots. And I get it. The Royals have been winning. The Royals have been fun to watch, but the reality is they're in a hole, and they are the ones behind, and they're running out of road.
Jacob, what are Cleveland the Guardians playoff odds?
The Cleveland Guardian playoff odds are 24%.
Those aren't bad odds.
No,
Good odds, but they're not bad.
right.
I don't believe in the Guardians. The Royals also have 7 games left against the Guardians.
Yeah,
They can flip things real quick there.
exactly. And I do want to say that they had that opportunity against Boston, right? They could have really flipped that because as of right now, the Red Sox are the top wild card team.
Right. And that's why I'm making my kind of sort of gestures over here is you're not trying to get to the top spot. You're trying to get in the dance.
Yes.
Like if you get to the top spot, holy cow, how did you do that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm focused on getting in the dance.
Yeah. Same here. And
I'll worry about dancing with the prettiest people once I'm in the dance.
there we go. And something that I want to point out to Royals fans, because I remember, I think it was right before the trade deadline. Someone put out hey, this is where the 2014 Royals playoff odds were right now. And it matched up perfectly with where the 2025 odds were. What is easy to forget that in that 2014 season, the Royals had several teams losing ahead of them. And that is I'm talking from July 31st, I think they went from 10% to August 15th, they're at 64%. That is what
the Athletics especially had a complete collapse.
correct. Right now, the Royals need teams to lose ahead of them, and it's just not happening yet. Them doing what they're doing right now keeps them close. It keeps them in the conversation, but they're going to remain long shots until teams lose ahead of them. Have I seen what the Yankees bullpen is doing? Yes, I have.
Have you seen what the Tigers are doing?
I was going to wait to talk about this until we previewed the Twins series, but how the heck do you lose a series against the fire sale Twins? I don't know how you do it.
Question that I hope we don't have to answer this weekend.
Same here. With the caveat, they did not have to face Joe Ryan. Okay, this is the shell of a Twins squad. I digress. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Right now, Royals are playing competitive ball. They're holding up their end of the bargain, and like Matthew Lamar said, they're a good team. If that good team looks like they end up with 84 wins, that's okay.
The teams ahead of them, they're done with the the Red Sox. Fortunately, they're not done with the White Sox. They're done with the Red Sox. They're done with the Yankees. But those are the top 2 teams in the wild card. They need that third spot. Well, guess what? They still have games against the Rangers, Mariners, and Guardians.
Those are going to be big.
Teams ahead of them.
Yep, it's going to be huge.
The Twins are right there with them, but falling. The Rays are a team that they're also done playing, but they have the tie break against the Rays.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
They do.
Yeah. So all they have to do is win as many games as the Rays. If they win one more game than they have a 4-game series against the Rangers. So if they win, even if they still win one, they would be 4-3 against the Rangers. So they would have that tie break. They have to win as many as the Rangers. And then the Mariners, they only won one no, they split the 4-game series with the Rangers.
Yes, they did.
Mariners. So they have to take 2 out of the 3
to get that tiebreaker.
I'm going to stop this because this is actually what I want to spend the weekend doing, is figuring out what the Royals' path to the playoffs would look like.
Yeah.
But so there are opportunities here beyond, the playoff odds are not good. It's going to be a struggle, but the the things are not entirely out of their control either.
Exactly. The one number I want to leave listeners with is 490. That is the strength of schedule the Royals have left, which that doesn't sound great, but that is second best among the AL
Yeah.
wildcard teams. So
That's
that is going in their favor.
you've got the Twins, you've got the Angels, you've got the Nationals, you've got the White Sox, you've got the Athletics. You've got some teams that aren't very good that they get to play. And they just played two of the hottest teams, two of the toughest teams in baseball at this moment and split with them.
Yes.
And sure, would you have liked to have gone 4-2? Absolutely. But as we always say, during the regular season, the teams above 500, you try and keep your head above water, and then you try and crush everyone below you.
Yep.
Where things got bad earlier this summer in June was when they lost 2 out of 3 to the White Sox and got swept by the Athletics.
Yeah.
That's when things got rough.
Yep.
It wasn't the losing games to the Yankees and to the Dodgers that was going to happen. We all expected that. You can't win all those games. It was losing the games that should have been winnable, that needed to be winnable. They've got a further opportunity here to play the games ahead and around them, and to play the teams ahead and around them, and to play the teams way behind them.
Yep.
This is their shot. They've got to take it.
So I can't wait to see what the final path that you see forward for them is, because that'll be good to watch.
Yeah. I'm excited to dig into the rest of their schedule.
For sure. So a couple of tidbits that I want to throw out there. First off, Blake Mitchell, the Royals' top prospect now, according to MLB.com. He has been doing great ever since he came back from the IL with the High A Quad Cities River Bandits. Got a 136 WRC plus. He is
slug though.
I had to check this. Yeah, the slug is terrible. But when you look at this and you're walking 20% of the time and striking out 29% of the time, I think it's pretty good. I think it's a pretty good ratio.
I'm a little worried about a guy who strikes out 29% of the time at high A. That's pretty high numbers to me. I don't know. I'm not giving up on Blake Mitchell by any means, but I'm also not like, yep, he's coming. He's going to save us for sure.
I'm still a believer, but we'll see what he does down the stretch in high A.
Carter Jensen heard what I said about him.
Yeah. Carter, we're really sorry.
I'm starting to maybe think that Carter Jensen might actually be for real.
Carter Jensen, Fred of the Pod. I want to remind folks, doing great things in AAA. Yeah, I had him on, and shortly after he was drafted, like he
so before we were working together.
Yep, way back when.
You ought to see if you could get it back on, or if he heard what I said about him, and he's like, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Just shuns you. Carter Jensen is.
Listen, I'm here to make content, not friends.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't believe I said I hate that. I I didn't mean it. I would like friends, and I want to tell stories and share information, not make content. That's such a gross way of putting it. Honestly.
One story that we should definitely be sharing is the MLB calling up his first female umpire during the regular season. It's going to be really, really cool. I think this is the first. They had a female umpire in spring training, but like, hey, she's going to be
back in the 80s, I think.
Yeah, everyone keeps on saying it is in a regular season. So I don't know if it was spring training. I don't know if it was postseason or what.
There have been a few high-level minor league female umpires, and there's been some that have worked in spring training, according to what I've read, but none in the regular season of an MLB game.
So it's
you do too.
Yes. So very, very cool to see that. What was not cool to see was the comment section on any post associated with this, but that is why we don't do that. Don't read the comments. Just stay away from them. She is going to be on the field for a doubleheader this weekend against the Miami Marlins and the Atlanta Braves, and we will see what happens from there. So I am trying. My goddaughter is trying to share her spaghetti with me because she's like, Uncle Jake, you have not eaten yet. Let me help you.
Tell her you've got a lot of podcasts left to do because we haven't even talked about Falter and Burgert yet.
Yes, not man.
Also,
what?
I'm having spaghetti for dinner tonight. That's a weird coincidence.
What a coinky dink. What a two-sided, like double-edged sword when it comes to debuts. Falter just faltered, and then
boy, I haven't heard that one yet.
Man,
I haven't said that one yet.
That's a new knee slapper for you there. And then Ryan Burgert. He shoved. He looked really good.
Oh my gosh, Jacob. Okay, so I'll try and keep this short and sweet for you, and then I do want to hear your thoughts, but I'm too excited to not interrupt you and start talking like I do. So Falter, I think he pitched better than his numbers. I liked some of the stuff I was seeing from him. It was really interesting to go back and realize that he did barely through his fastball. I don't know if that was an adjustment in his repertoire or if he just didn't have his fastball on Monday night, but he was not throwing it. His slider, he led the way with his slider instead. And I thought it was a decent slider. So I'm looking forward to what the Royals do with him as far as improving his repertoire. I don't mind if he doesn't make another start for KC in 2025. That's fine. I'm excited to see him compete for a rotation spot in 2026. And then Bergert, like you said, he shoved. That sweeper was deadly. And I wasn't sure about the slider early, but the slider is deadly in its own way. I'm going to say this, Jacob. You're going to think it might be an overreaction. You're going to say, "Jeremy, are you okay?" He looks like a right-handed Chris Bubich to me.
Jeremy, are you okay? Jeremy, what?
He looks like a right-handed Chris Bubich. He throws a fastball in the low to mid 90s with a little rising action on it. And this is a big takeaway for me when I was looking at what he did in his first start with the Royals was that sweeper. He upped the usage on the sweeper and added 4 inches of horizontal break and 2 inches of vertical break to it.
Jesus.
And pitches all have variation in how they move. Like, you don't throw a sweeper and it moves exactly the same distance every time. But adding 4 inches of of average horizontal velocity or average horizontal break is a lot.
It is.
He'd never thrown sweepers based on what I was looking at when I was looking at the TJ stats graphics. He'd never thrown sweepers that broke that far before. And that was his average.
Yep. First start.
So people will say, well, maybe it was just one of those nights. I think that was a grip change from the Royals. I think the Royals said, Bailey Falter, we've got some ideas for you, buddy. It's going to take a while to get those.
Yeah.
Ryan Bergert, we've got some ideas for you. One of these you can do immediately. I am very excited for the next time Bergert pitches. I might be falling in love.
And I do, because as you talk about how different those two pitchers might look in the eyes of the Royals pitching staff, it is important to remember that both of these guys are on, I hate to say it like this, but different tiers when it comes to projected talent level. I would say, Bergert, he was, a top 10 prospect in the Padres system. And Falter was solid for a losing Pirates team, but he wasn't stellar. He wasn't otherworldly. Bergert is still coming into his own, and these 1 or 2 changes might be what he needs. Yeah, still a rookie, doing great things.
This kid is young. He's got a lot of control left. He's got a bright future.
He does.
I'm very excited for Ryan Bergert,
as he should be.
Man, it just makes me think though, how good could Chris Bubich have been if he'd had Brian Sweeney as his pitching coach all along instead of Cal Eldred?
I do think that maybe this might not be this offseason, but next, I think it is going to be worth looking back on how different would that 2018 draft class look if it weren't for Cal Eldred leading the charge.
I believe, I don't have any numbers to back this up off the top of my head. Hopefully you can find some this offseason because that's a project for you, buddy.
Hey.
But I 100% believe that the Royals would be a completely different team if Cal Eldred had not completely ruined the pitching staff. If Cal Eldred and Mike Matheny and Dayton Moore, who both empowered him to do so by letting him continue to be employed by the team when it was obvious to everyone how bad he was at his job, I think that they destroyed what could the Royals have been good in 23, in 24, or they were good in 24, in 22. How far could they have gone? How much better would Brady Singer have been if he'd had better pitching coaches from the beginning?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but I think,
would Daniel Lynch have become a starter instead of a mediocre middle reliever? Would Jackson Kowar still have a job?
Yeah, that part. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about Jackson Kowar.
The Mariners the other day.
So
he's still with the Mariners, at least. Good for him.
Yeah, hey, good on him. And for what it's worth, I know you're a big proponent of Fangraphs V, future value, yes. And Falter, when he was a 2021 graduate of the Pirates, of the Philly system.
Yes.
He had a 45 FV.
I mean, 45 is not good. I think as a pitcher of 45, your odds are like 25% that you'll be a reasonable pitcher. 25% ain't zero.
Exactly.
He's not a 40 or 35, which is what a lot of prospects are.
Yeah. So he's a little bit of a step up, but even then he was projecting as a reliever, and that's how the Phillies used him. And the Pirates were really the ones who stretched him out into a true starter.
And
Oh,
the
we'll
fact
see.
that he pitched as well as he did with the stuff he has, I think is a credit to his mental ability, to his ability to pitch, to locate, to find the chinks in the armor of his opponents. So I look forward to what he can do once the Royals improve his arsenal a little bit, because I think they will.
Yep. And if you want a little bit more on both these guys, we have scouting reports up on RoyalsReview.com that you could check out. I know
From Matt Chabot.
Yeah. I absolutely loved his look at Bergert. I know that went up after the start, which was a little like meh, but it just happens with
That
the
was
site.
the transition, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was out of his control. All right. Why don't we go ahead and look forward to this Twins series real quick, shall we?
Gotta do that. So I mentioned earlier I wanted to talk about the pitching matchups of this series. One thing that I think has become true over the last couple of weeks, I had been saying for most of the season at this point that the pitching matchups didn't matter to me, because what really mattered was who's going for the Royals and how good are the other team's hitters. Because their pitchers, it doesn't matter who they are, they're gonna stop the Royals hitters. That's not true anymore.
Nope, not
Pitching
anymore.
matchups do matter now. The Royals pitchers have not been as dominant. They've only had 3 or 4 quality starts since the break.
Yeah, not a whole lot.
But the offense, as I noted earlier, has scored 7 more runs in half of those games since the break. So things have kind of flipped. I do think the pitching will come back around. I'm hoping the hitting is here to stay. Now that Adam Frazier, Randall Grichuk, and Mike Yastrzemski are taking some real quality at bats in the middle of the order. So yeah, the pitching matchups actually seem to matter now. So do you have those pitching matchups? Because I have them if you don't.
Yeah, so I got him here real quick. I don't know who's going Sunday for the
I know
Twins.
what MLB says.
Okay, who does MLB say for Sunday? Let's go
It
backwards.
says, I remember who it said for the Royals because I found it interesting. It said Bergert
It
was
did.
going for the Royals on Sunday.
Yep, instead of Falter. Which, like,
It would be Falter's turn in the rotation if they were just going in order.
correct.
But because of the off day today, you can move Bergert up a day and he's still on regular rest.
Yep. Which this is, no offense to Falter, but just for the reasons that we just spoke about, I would rather have Falter going in a series opener against the lowly Washington Nationals.
I don't think he's going to, though.
You think he's going to shift to the bullpen?
I think he's going to go. I think he's either going to go to the bullpen or he's going to go to Omaha.
He doesn't have any options.
Off the injured list.
He doesn't have any
options.
Yeah, he's out of options.
I guess he's going to the bullpen.
All right, let's go backwards.
I don't know who he's a lefty out of the bullpen, which is something they haven't necessarily had. Maybe they finally cut Sam Long. Maybe they demote. I don't know who they demote now. Angel Serpa's still got options, but they'll figure it out.
Yeah, they will.
The point is, I think Michael Lorenzen gets the start on Monday.
Gotcha.
I think he comes off the IL.
Okay, so we already talked about who's going for the Royals on Sunday. Moving backwards to Saturday, we get Noah Cameron facing off against Bailey Ober. That's going to be a great matchup. But the even better matchup between these two teams is Seth Lugo versus Joe Ryan to start off the series. I think that's going to be a slobber knocker between these two pitchers.
I'm sorry, a what?
A slobber knocker. You ever heard that word?
No. I have not.
Okay, I've heard that word for as long as I can remember. It is would you like the Oxford English Dictionary?
Yeah, please.
Let's see here. Slobber knocker. A match or contest that is particularly hard fought or physically aggressive. Also, a violent or severe blow, collision between players, etc.
Okay, I guess it's probably from boxing, I'm going to guess, is where that originated.
It seems like it's from football, actually.
Okay.
1967 is their first referenced use in a article about Texas football. Slobber knocker.
And that's a violent sport also.
It is. But anywho's, violence between Seth Lugo and Joe Ryan.
Jeez Louise.
So, I mean, I don't want us to say, oh, well, they're going to win this many, but I think a lot of Royals fans are approaching this series like, oh, well, the Twins are going to be a rollover team. Like, no, since the trade deadline, they're 3-3 between two series against the Cleveland Guardians and the Detroit Tigers, and they won that series against the Tigers, scoring 18 runs in 3 games.
Okay, Here's my response to that, Jacob.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's clear to me now that the Tigers made a deal with the devil at the deadline last season and said, we want to be good for a year. We just want to be unstoppable for a year. And time's up. And now they're back to being awful.
You're not wrong, unfortunately. Not wrong.
I think that's the only explanation I have for how good they were after the deadline last year and how bad they are this year.
Yeah.
After the break.
Would you believe that their playoff odds are actually falling right now?
Well, sure. They were like 20 games past everybody in the division, and now they're like 10.
Yeah. We're gonna get them. We're gonna sneak up on them and get them.
He's not out of reach anymore. That's what I'm saying.
8.5 games back.
The Tigers are, when I said the Royals get to play the Tigers again, and they have their stuff in their hands. That's what I'm saying. It's not likely.
It's not likely.
It also wasn't likely that the Tigers were ever going to make the playoffs last year.
We like that.
It could happen. It could.
I'll take it will.
It'll be interesting.
It will be.
I'm interested to see how this goes. I would be, Jacob, you have no idea how insufferable I will become if the Tigers finish collapsing and the Royals win the division.
It's going to be a long offseason if that happens.
It will. Every podcast, I will interrupt your intro to be like, I said the Royals were going to win the division, and they won the division.
It happened. I am the soothsayer. All right. Also, a couple of things I want to point out with the Twin series. This is going to be their first home series since the trade deadline, so I'm going to be interested to see how fans react to this team. That was rough. But hey, I mean, if they're still winning, they're still scoring runs, they're still an above-average lineup since the trade deadline.
I just realized you meant it was the Twins' first home series since the deadline.
Yeah, not the Royals.
The Royals will have their first home series since the deadline on Monday when the Nationals come to town. And I was thinking about, they'll be super excited to see Grichuk and Yastrzemski. What do you
like? What?
Oh, the twin. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. I know that I said the pitching matchups matter, but it's hard to see how the Twins win a game when they have no lineup. And you and I are in their bullpen.
It's worked for them so far.
And they've gone 3-3 against a collapsing Tigers team and a Guardians team that is playing over its head and is without their closer and one of their starting pitchers. I'm interested to see what happens this series. I think this weekend series will tell me a lot more about who the Twins are now than either of those series told me, because I think the Royals are where they should have been all year in terms of competitiveness. So whereas the Tigers look worse than they probably are, and I think the Guardians, I don't know what happened with the Guardians. I wasn't paying attention to the Twins Guardians series, honestly. But in terms of competitiveness, I think that when the Twins play the Royals, it will be like, okay, now you're playing a team that is about where they should be in terms of record and in terms of how well they're currently playing. So can you beat this team? Okay, well then maybe you do have something. No, you got swept. Okay, yeah, I was right. You're gone.
Right. And I do. A lot of folks have pointed out that this is kind of the start of an easier. Like this is the stretch where the Royals can make up some ground in the wild card chase, and I don't know if they will. I think this series is going to set the tone for this upcoming stretch of games. I'm pulling up the schedule right now just to make sure I don't miss any. But you got 3 against the Twins, and then you host the Nationals for 3, then you host the White Sox for 3. Like that's a 9-game stretch against losing teams who you should handle. Ideally, like I would say, a 7-2 record to keep the momentum going. That would be a great outcome.
I think at a bare minimum, you've got to go 6-3.
Yeah. I think that's the minimum.
If you go 7-2, you did your job. You get an A for 6-3, you get a C. For 7-2, you get an A. You go 8-1 or 9-0.
A++.
I'm sending you to the advanced class.
Ooh, AP. I like it.
Yeah.
That's what
I was homeschooled. I don't know what the heck that is.
But it's also going to be like another tone setter for 4 against the Rangers, who will likely still be in the wild card race at that time.
If the Royals at least go 6-3 over this next 9, that Rangers series is gonna be wild.
It is.
The K should probably be bumping.
It should be.
If the Royals go at least 6-3 over these next 9 when they face the Rangers for 4.
Well, you will know that this podcast will be bumping depending on how this next 9 games goes for the Royals. We'll do our best to keep you abreast of everything Royals related, or you can go check out royalsreview.com for the information over there. Jeremy, you got anything else before we get to reviews?
I feel like I had one more thing, but real quick, just real quick.
Okay.
The Speedway Classic.
Yeah, what'd you think?
I think it was described best when someone said it's the fire festival
Yep.
of baseball.
Yep. That's the one.
Yeah, I always questioned, like, why are you doing a baseball game at a racetrack? What's the point of that? And then I saw how the stadium was arranged. No, there are no good seats. That was always my question. Is like, the stands are around the outside. The field is going to be on the inside. How are they going to see the dang game? And then they didn't even have food, Jacob.
Nope.
And then, of course, the rain came, and they didn't know what to do about that. But they got the special uniforms. Got special uniforms for the racetrack game, but not for the Negro Leagues.
Yeah, that's a whole nother fish to cook.
That pisses me off so much.
As it does me too, rightfully so. My save.
And I had originally thought that the Speedway Classic was going to be the whole 3-game series. No, it was one of the games in that series.
What are we doing?
Come on. So it's not even special uniforms for a 3-game series. It was still just special uniforms for one game.
Right.
I hate it.
When they did the Field of Dreams stuff, it was a full 3-game set. I thought. I could be misremembering that.
Just one game for the Field of Dreams game.
Okay, so maybe that's the precedent that they set.
Yeah, that is the precedent. I just didn't tie this in with the Field of Dreams or with the one they did last year. That was the Willie Mays.
Yeah, down in Alabama.
Birmingham Black
Yeah.
Barons Stadium or whatever.
My save round is not nearly as impactful. Our sweet Prince John Rave has fallen back to where he was before the break of 46 WRC plus since the trade deadline. Not walking, striking out a ton for a player of his profile. He did have a good. Go ahead.
I think his bats are at least better since Grichuk and Yastrzemski showed up.
I don't think they are, but I could very much be wrong.
Could be wrong.
I'll look at the numbers, but he had a solid series finale against the Red Sox. 2-hit performance, scored a run on that. Just that super timely Kyle Isbell single. Just enough backspin on that thing to float above the infield.
So we had some awful base running in that inning with Adam Frazier getting picked off and thrown out because he tried to steal too soon. But then we had some terrific base running with Jonathan India going to third and then John Rave following him to second. And that set up the runs. Without that excellent base running, Kyle Isbell's looping liner goes straight to the second baseman and ends the inning. It's
baseball.
That's what good base running does.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're not going to remember that.
Puts pressure on the other team. Bad base running takes pressure off of them. Good base running puts pressure on them. More good base running, please.
Please and thank you. I'm going to start us off for reviews because I finished up a book today. Like I loaded up my Libby app, which is like the library app that I use. And I was like, oh shoot, I have 2 days to finish this book and I have 12 hours left. Well, shoot, let's see. Maybe I could toss it on 2 times and I'll get it. I didn't do quite 2 times. Yeah, it leveled out to 1.5, but
let's be reasonable.
Yeah. Between yesterday and today, I finished up this book. It's called Careless People, A Cautionary Tale of Power, Greed, and Lost Idealism. What it is, super interesting perspective from the author Sarah Wynne Williams, who tells her story about the early days of Facebook, of helping out with like their external government policy at Facebook when it was still very, very young as a company. She was coming from like former public policy in New Zealand, so she was very much a fish out of water here, and it was told from her perspective how she interacted with the leadership at Facebook and kind of how that affected her life, but also her worldview. And I found it very interesting. It's not for everyone. It's a memoir about a very specific period in time from someone you probably haven't heard of, but I thought it was timely. It was nice, and it was it's good to hear from workers within such a big company. So Careless People, it's got 4.2 stars on Goodreads, so it can't be that. It's not.
Okay, fair enough.
Jeremy, over to you.
Jacob, I had COVID last week.
That was fun, I bet.
It was so fun. And the story behind how and why I got COVID is even more fun, but that's not for the podcast. What is for the podcast is while I was sick with COVID, I spent a lot of time playing a video game that it was my 3rd time basically trying to play this game, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which is a new adventure game from, I think it's called Gearworks, which is a subsidiary of Bethesda. They're the people who do the gosh, what's that silly series where you shoot the Nazis?
Destroy All Humans?
No, Wolfenstein.
Oh, yeah.
They do the Wolfenstein series, and I was not sure what this game was going to be. I loved the Uncharted games back in the day, but as I, read criticisms of them, I kind of fell out of love with them because I was like, oh, this is like Indiana Jones. And I was like, oh, wait, but he is like shooting and murdering hundreds of people a game. That's not very Indiana Jones. And I was a little concerned of like, okay, you've got Indiana Jones, and you've got, this was the thing that hooked me, is you've got the music, and you've got Troy Baker doing an amazing Harrison Ford impersonation, or impression, not impersonation, because no, he wasn't trying to convince me he was Harrison Ford. He was just trying to do the voice of Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. So I was like, okay, you've got those beats right. Do you have an Indiana Jones story? What does Indiana Jones gameplay look like? Does it look like a lot of gunplay? What does it look like? Jacob, it took me 3 tries, like I said, to start this game. So good. It is so Indiana Jones. The music is perfect. The voice acting is phenomenal, both by Troy Baker and by his co-lead, whose name I've forgotten, who plays Gina. Because you got to have not a femme fatale, but like a female co-lead love interest who's also a little spunky, preferably. I think it was a mistake in, what was the name of that dang movie? Temple of Doom. Winnie she's not really all that spunky, so that's like the worst love interest that he has. So you want her a little spunky, and lots of good stuff. You got to have your ancient relics, preferably with ties to Christianity. Apparently, that all the best Indiana Jones movies are tied to Christianity. 2 of them. There are 2. And so you got all this stuff. You've got your Nazi archaeologist enemy who's just really smarmy. It's so good, Jacob. There were lots of puzzles to solve that were like, the way that you solved them was very Indiana Jones-ish, of like noticing hints and clues and putting it all together. And the game, none of them, I found them to be the exact right difficulty of puzzle, of like, okay, I can solve this if I think about it. And it also had a hint system where you get a camera and you can take pictures of things, and if you're trying to solve a puzzle that you need to solve to progress the story, you can take multiple photos and it'll give you hints on how to solve the puzzle if you can't figure it out. And then there were all kinds of things to discover and archaeological finds to make throughout the game. You didn't have to do any of that stuff, but you could, and it was fun, and it fit the character of Indiana Jones. It's one of my biggest pet peeves with open world games, is like the side quests, even when they're fun, they don't always suit who the protagonist is. Like, why is my character doing this? What is their motivation for what is my character's motivation for bringing 3 sheepskins back to the shaman? Why do they want to do that, other than it's a game and you do that in a game?
Yeah.
The motivations were there, of like, Indiana Jones at his heart is an investigator who primarily investigates the past, but he likes any kind of puzzle. He wants to know things. His curiosity is his driving factor in everything he does, and that was very heavily involved in the game. And yes, you could punch and shoot Nazis, but it was allowed, but it wasn't a requirement or a necessity of the game in a way that took away from the adventure and the exploration. It was like, this is first and foremost adventure and exploration. There's opportunities for stealth and deception and stuff that Indiana Jones does in the movies. There's also opportunities for punching with the iconic Indiana Jones punching sound effects.
Yes, one of the best parts of the movies.
On point. The game, I will have to say, the game is very buggy at points, especially when you get to the 3rd kind of main area. It's like, it tells you the things that you haven't. Oh, and there were also maps you could pick up for all the collectibles.
Gotcha.
So that it's like, you want to find the collectibles? I'll tell you where they all are. You don't need to go find a guide on the internet. Though I actually did, because sometimes I was like, I'm here, where's the thing? But yeah, so just a really well-designed game, really understood the core ethos of what is an Indiana Jones story, and I had so much fun with it. I can't wait for the DLC later this year. I hope we get lots of sequels. I'm in a very Indiana Jones mood right now.
Excellent. That's a good mood to be in. I got one negative thing to add on. Can you guess how much it's going to cost to watch every single NFL game this year?
$500.
$1.64. Yes.
That's how much The passes?
No, it's because of all these streaming
The game?
exclusive games that they have. The game's on ESPN, Amazon Prime, Peacock, Paramount Plus, Fox One, Netflix, and then NFL Sunday Ticket is $480, which is reasonable
so
for that.
that's the 500.
Yeah.
I already have all the streaming. Somebody in my family is paying for all of the stream. Like I have the Amazon Prime. My brother pays for Peacock. My mom pays for Hulu. So we between us we've got them all. So we make that work. But yeah, that's if you don't have a family that will share all their passwords with you like that. That's rough for sure.
As the great philosopher Captain Jack Sparrow once said, "It's a pirate's life for me." Savvy?
Yeah, that's the one of my core tenets that I like.
I'm joking. I'm joking, by the way. For legal reasons, that's a joke.
For legal reasons, I love to see opportunities. I love opportunities to do good. I love to wave at them as they pass me by. That's one of my core tenets of my life that I live, and I would have to explain it for why that makes sense. Like if you know me, you know that I do nice things for people.
Yeah, that you do.
If
You're
you
a nice
don't know
person.
me, feel free to assume that when I say that, I mean I'm a jackass to everyone I meet at every opportunity. That's fine. You can assume that. I don't care. But yeah, that's I think about that constantly.
Good. Alrighty, folks, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here of today's episode. We appreciate you joining us for the long haul. If you never want to miss an episode, make sure you follow along with us wherever you're listening to us at right now. You can go find us on Twitter, on Blue Sky, or you can just go check out royalsreview.com where we are going to be active at. I'm Jacob Milham. They are the illustrious Jeremy Greco. Thank you so much for being here, and until next time, oh, Royals.
Yes, Queen.